Hello dear students, welcome everybody. In this video, I am going to talk about one interesting fact that is based on literature for language development. This video will be useful for B.Ed Fourth Year Major English students. It is from the course Literature for Language Development, and in this video I am going to talk about planning lesson to teach poetry or stage of teaching poetry. Here, how we can deliver teaching poetry in the classroom, in the secondary level in the classroom. Being best on this matter, I'm going to talk about this. So watch the video till the end so that we can get ample information regarding planning lesson to teach poetry and stage of teaching poetry. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe this. That always make me motivate to make such kind of video in the days to come. So here, a planning lesson to teach poetry and stage of teaching poetry. Regarding this matter, first of all, we need to know what is poetry. Yes, William Wordsworth says that poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings collected in tranquility. So to teach poetry in the classroom is not an easy task. Many things should be considered in mind while teaching poetry. So we should go through various stages, various activities should be carried out in the classroom to teach poetry. Now let's discuss about the various stages and activities to be carried out in the class to teach poetry. Well, planning lesson to teach English poetry should be very interesting one. There are various activities carried out while teaching poetry in the classroom, especially in secondary level. Here, let's discuss about the various activities carried out. So when planning a lesson using a poem, it is always useful to try to anticipate some of the difficulties student may face different difficulties while dealing with the reading and studying the poem. Especially poem is focused on spontaneous overflow. It is based on full of imagination there. Imaginative ideas are presented here. So that's why teaching poetry in the classroom is always interesting one and is also difficult task there. Here, especially for the teacher and students, especially for the teacher, many things should be considered while teaching poetry. There are a number of ways with which we can exploit poems in the classroom. Here, Ledger 1993 has given some of the activities and tasks to be carried out while teaching poetry in the class. Now let's discuss about this, about the various activities carried out in teaching English poetry. Here to teach poetry, the first stage is that is pre-reading activities should be carried out there. Under this pre-reading activity system, we teacher have to think towards the stimulating students' interest in the text. Here under this motivating students towards the text using student predict theme of the poem from its title. Under this pre-reading activities, student discuss the theme or describe pictures or photographs relevant to the theme of the poem. Similarly, students are asked what they would do and how they would respond if they were in a situation similar to in the poem here. It will be discussed. And similarly, students are given different lines from the poem and they are asked to suggest and given some idea and theme of the poem there. Similarly, under this pre-reading activities, providing the necessary historical or cultural background, here a teacher have to provide some historical and cultural background to the poem and to the poetry as well. It also talks about the author's life, which may depend their understanding of the theme of the poem there. Similarly, student will discuss about the appropriate behaviors or feelings in their culture or society in a particular situation under this pre-reading activities, and where students could be given information about the genre of the poem, literary moment to which the author belongs before reading it. That is the pre-reading activities, means before uh, conducting a class there, students are given some extra activities before teaching a poetry, that is pre-reading activities. Similarly, next one is while reading activities. While reading activities, during this process, students are given a jumble version of poem, either lines or the verses, and asked to put it together again. Similarly, uh, next action can be carried out, that is certain words are removed from the poems and students have to fill in the gaps either by themselves or using a list of words provided there. As here, students are given some tasks to perform and make them understand about the poem, what the main theme and what the main idea there. Similarly, students outline all the words connected with the particular lexical text set and then speculate on their metaphorical or symbolic meaning. And here, students decide which definitions of a particular word in the dictionary is the one that best fit the meaning of the word in the poem. Similarly, students answer comprehension questions about the meaning of certain word or phrases in the poem there. Uh, then, in the post-reading activities, under this post-reading activities, that is helping students towards an interpretation of the poem. And here students are given a series of statements about the possible underlying meanings of the poem, and they decide which ones are true or false. Students are given such idea there, and they will, similarly, students are given 2 or 3 brief interpretation of the poem, and they decide which one they think is the most appropriate one. uh, it will be done in post-reading activities under this students helping student toward the interpretation of the poem. Similarly here, very advanced students can be asked to compare poem with 2 different translation of it in their own language. Which translation is the most satisfactory? The teacher have to decide there. Similarly, under this here, while performing this activity, students imagine they are filming the poem, and they have to decide what visual image they would provide for this line or verse of the poem as it is recited there. And then students practice reading poems aloud and decide what gesture could accompany a choral reading there. So that is the post reading activities. After this, further follow-up activities can be performed in the classroom. Is student make the student recite the poem and different form of discourse there, and make the student write their own poem and using original as a model there. Similarly, students read and discuss other poems by the same author or other poems on the same theme there, and then role play based on the theme or subject of the poem there, and discuss the values and worldview which are either implicitly or explicitly expressed in the poem. Do they agree with them? So that is the idea performing there in the follow-up activities. That is all about this planning lesson to teach poetry there. Teaching poetry in the classroom is not any easy task. Many things should be considered in mind while teaching poetry in the classroom. So that is all about the teaching poetry, making lesson about teaching poetry. And there are various stages of teaching poetry, that is pre-reading activities. Many activities can be carried out there, while reading activities, post-reading activities, then further follow-up activities. These are the major stages of teaching poetry. I hope student will get the concept. That is all about this video here. Hope to meet you all in the next interesting video. Till then, goodbye. Take care. Have a good time.